Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is Christian here. Thank you so much for joining me today. So today, I've never done this video before, but I kind of felt like it was time to talk about some products that YouTube made me buy. Now this is definitely a video that I have seen floating around YouTube for quite some time. Most recently I saw Jamie Page Beauty do her video, and she has definitely been inspiring me to buy a lot of products recently. But I thought that I would kick it back old school and show you some products that I would have picked up either before my YouTube channel started or very, very early on into my YouTube channel, because of course now YouTube makes me buy a lot of products because I want to review, I want to talk about them, you know, I want to either do tutorials or just kind of first impressions, haul videos, whatever the case may be. But the products that I'm going to be talking about today are products that I would have purchased early on into my discovery of YouTube videos. I've mentioned before, discovering YouTube, I pretty much only wore MAC makeup. I wasn't really familiar with Sephora or Ulta and things like that. I started watching YouTube beauty videos about 3 years ago. That's when my love obsession of makeup really started, and I've been making YouTube videos now for about a year and a half now, a little more than a year and a half. So my makeup collection has definitely grown exponentially over the last few years, but I thought I would show you some of the products that like started it all. These are products that Jaclyn Hill, Kathleen Lights, Nicole Guerrero, Casey Holmes, you know, Nikki Tutorials, Tati. These are products that whenever I first started discovering makeup, those were the beauty gurus that I instantly found first. So these are products that they talked about, they recommended. These are products that anytime I would search in contour, you know, contour or highlight, these are the products that would show up in suggested videos over and over again. So I would just go out and buy them, try them, test them, play with them. So I thought it would be kind of fun just for you guys to see kind of how my makeup collection began, how my love affair with YouTube and beauty videos began, by showing you some of the products that I picked up early on when practicing and playing with new techniques of makeup. If you're interested in that video, you're definitely in the right place. But before we get into it, I just want to say that if you are new to my channel, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you do not mind, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. I do post 5 videos a week. I try to post every day. I try to post Monday through Friday. So there's lots of content here on my channel. So definitely stick around, you know, if you're feeling my vibe. And if you are not new to my channel, welcome back. And yeah, you guys, let's go ahead and talk about some things that YouTube has definitely made me buy over the course of the last 2 to 3 years. So there is no way that I could start this video off with any other product other than the Anastasia Beverly Hills contour kit. When this became a thing, like it was legitimately a thing. This was the first time contouring and highlighting in the palette form was like mass marketed, like, or to my knowledge was mass marketed to like consumers everywhere. And you could not find this thing anywhere. I would check online on Sephora's website. I would go into Sephora several times a week and the girls would just be like, honey, not yet, it's out of stock. You know, we usually get our shipments on these days, come back in, call first. It was impossible to get your hands on this. I feel like this was a product that beauty gurus just went crazy over. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody was using it. Everybody was talking about how you could use this product to achieve the Kim Kardashian contoured look. Like, I felt like I was nobody until I had this in my collection. I almost never use it now because there have definitely better contour palettes have come out along the way. The banana shade, as you can tell, is definitely my most used out of this contour palette. I typically only stuck to these two in the center. I never used the highlighters really. And I purchased this back when this was the only one you could buy. Like now she has like light, she has medium. Mine legitimately just says contour kit because back then this was the only one she had. And when I first started contouring, like I would watch the Jaclyn Hill videos and I would just be like, what? You do huh? With who and what? And you put the dark where and you create this what are you talking about? Like I was so confused when I first started contouring. I didn't really see the point of it and I didn't really quite understand it because I didn't know what I was doing. I would get home from work every single day, wipe my makeup off and just practice over and over and over again. And that is honestly what this palette was for me. It was just a lot of trial and error. This was just like everybody's jam, you know, a few years back. And I feel like anybody who was watching YouTube, what, 3-4 years ago, definitely was trying to get their hands on this guy. And I want to say that this, along with one other product, was almost impossible to get your hands on. And now I think people have long since moved past it. Everybody has contour kits now, but this is the OG, this is the original, this is the one that you had to have in your collection back then. The infamous NARS Ita brush, and I almost never use this. The funny thing is I don't really contour that much very often. I actually contoured today for the first time in forever. I remember Jaclyn Hill making her video about this. When this brush first blew up and everybody was talking about it, I think Jaclyn Hill started that trend. This brush was like $35 and now it's $55 because the hype behind it, the popularity behind it, everybody was talking about this brush. And it was like one of those things that you felt that you had to have in order to contour like Jaclyn Hill, in order, again, to get those cheekbones like Kim Kardashian. I don't think over time, I think it's a decent brush, but over time, especially if you are a beginner to contouring, which I was, this brush was not an easy brush to use because it would create the harsh line, and then trying to blend out with this, I would be stuck. Like, I would get the line and then I'd be like, okay, what now? And I remember watching Jaclyn Hill's video over and over again, you know, when she first started talking about this brush, and it just didn't work for me. I still to this day really don't use it. I need to bring it back because I don't contour very often. But this thing was sold out everywhere. There was a waiting list. There was, I would read blogs that would say, call this site here, do this, do that. It was impossible. And when it finally started to come back in stock, it came back in stock $20 more expensive whenever the hype first became really real behind this product. So I was a little, you know, I bought it anyway though, because I was convinced in order to look like the, you know, all of my favorite beauty gurus, I had to have the products that they had. Of course, now I know that that's not true. You have to find what works best for you. There was no chance that if Jaclyn Hill was recommending it, or any of the other beauty gurus I just talked about, if they recommended it, if they talked about it, I bought it. Period. End of story. I might be one of the few people who did not buy the original Urban Decay Naked palette based off of beauty gurus or recommendation. I know that that palette blew up on YouTube, but I didn't buy it because of YouTube. I just one day walked into Ulta and was like, ooh, this is pretty, and I wanted to have like a nice pretty eyeshadow palette, and I purchased it. And it's just because I was walking up and down the aisles at Ulta and it just looked really nice. With that being said, a palette, there are a couple of palettes that I definitely bought early on into, you know, branching out into makeup because of beauty influencers. One of them being the original Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette. Now, early on in my channel, I talked about this all the time. I did purchase this before I began my YouTube channel, I believe. But I definitely picked this up. Kathleen Lights talks about this. You've seen this over and over again. Too Faced as a brand, I think, is very social media relevant, and everybody just talks about Too Faced products very often. I loved this palette. I loved it so much. You can definitely tell that this palette was one of my favorites, one of my staples. This is one of the palettes that I purchased because of YouTube, and I definitely don't regret purchasing it. The Urban Decay Original Naked palette was my first high-end beauty eyeshadow palette. Now, what I like about this one more is because it's a little bit more universal. There's more matte shades. You know, they have more brow bone highlights. There's, you know, a good array of transition shades, your medium tone browns. Like, this is a good introductory staple palette, and it was easy to use. Banging palette, everybody talked about it, everybody loved it, and I definitely purchased this because of YouTube, and I do recommend it highly. Now, this is kind of a palette that I kind of have like a sad about. So I purchased this palette when the Amoresi palette had first launched in Ulta, and I went back and forth between the two palettes so much. They were both so hyped, everybody was talking about them, and I had to get my hands on one. Now, I ended up going with the Lorac Pro palette, which to this day I regret. I don't regret buying the palette because I do love it, but had I been thinking, but this was before I was super into like makeup, like, you know, really stepping out and really getting into makeup, I didn't quite understand the concept of limited edition. If I could go back, I would have definitely purchased the Amoresi palette, because I do regret not buying that one, and I would have purchased this one at a later date because of course it's permanent. But the palette that I am talking about is the Lorac Pro eyeshadow palette. Now, out of all of the Lorac Pro eyeshadow palettes, this is my favorite one, the original one. There's something about the original OGs that are just like, they did it right the first time, and then it was so successful the brand just kind of kept on going kind of thing. But I definitely, this is another one of those palettes that you can see I'm close to hitting pan on a couple. This palette got a ton of use. And I like the fact that it has one full row of mattes, one full row of shimmers. It is just a very good staple palette. You can create so many day looks, so many night looks. It's still one of my favorite palettes of all time. It's probably definitely in the top 10. If I had to say, I feel like it would be in the top 10. I would really have to sit down and really think about that again, like go through my collection. Maybe I'll do a top 10 favorite eyeshadow palettes and we can kind of see what shows up. I remember just sit down, like I would with the contour palette, I would sit down for hours and I would work on blending, and I would work on transition, and I would work on, you know, how to make my eyeshadow look seamless, because I used to just put literally like two colors and there was no transition. It would be like a dark brown, like I wore a lot of black and gray eyeshadows. I didn't even know what a transition shade was, you know, coming out of high school and things like that, because I didn't do it. And I felt like this was a really good palette to really help you get where you need it to go. And I would still recommend this palette to this day. And YouTube definitely made me purchase this. I mean, all right, let's talk about MAC Fix Plus. Now, I always shopped at MAC, but I never purchased a MAC Fix Plus until YouTube. The first time I purchased MAC Fix Plus was probably 3 years ago. I'm just gonna spray a little bit now because it's everything. And I would remember Tati always raving about this. Jaclyn Hill would always rave about this. And I would just kind of think like, because sometimes I would go to MAC and I would always see this and I would just be, it's water. Like why? Like why do I need that? But no, honey, it is not water. It is a staple in any makeup collection. It is a true, like it is. It's a staple product. It's one of those products that yes, it seems expensive. Yes, it seems overpriced. Is it necessary? Yes, it kind of is. It helps with powders. It helps make your makeup blend a little bit better. It helps with, you know, eyeshadows. It helps, just helps. It's like an aid. It's like your makeup aid. Like if things are going wrong, this will fix it a lot of the times, unless it went like really, really wrong and there's no coming back. This will fix powdery makeup. This will fix cakey makeup. This will fix eyeshadows that don't want to stick down, eyeshadows that don't want to be as intense as you know they can be. This is a game changer. It's necessary. I don't know what I was doing before YouTube without this because I use it almost every single day, if not every single day. And it's one of those things that I thank YouTube for. I thank the beauty community. Let's talk about 2 NARS products that I purchased before my YouTube channel started. And I purchased because I would hear a lot of things about NARS. They're technically blushes, but one is a highlighter and one of course is the blush. NARS Orgasm and NARS Albatross. Let me go ahead and swatch NARS Albatross for you. So that is NARS Albatross right there. A very white highlighter that has like a shift, like a gold shift to it. And this is definitely one of those things that I would see a lot. I actually don't like NARS Albatross. And the NARS Orgasm I like. I mean, it definitely was one of those blushes. No, I still like NARS Orgasm. I just don't reach for a ton because, again, my makeup collection has grown so much. Or Albatross I just bought because I didn't know what the heck I was doing and people were talking about it. And that's kind of how it began. Like, oh, okay, you're saying that I should get this? Or okay, you're saying you like it? I would make a list. Like the more YouTubers I would hear talk about a product, I would be like, okay. And those products would kind of move to the top of the list. And if I only heard 1 or 2 people talk about it, maybe I would be less likely to buy it. Orgasm was one of those blushes that when it came out, I feel like all of these products, when they first came out, like you were not a beauty guru if you didn't use these products, if you didn't talk about these products, and you were not a true enthusiast of the beauty community if you did not buy these products. You know, that's just my brain. That's how it works. Again, my makeup still doesn't look like Jaclyn Hill's and, you know, all those other people's, but, you know, I tried. Another highlighter that I do think has stood the test of time throughout the years, that people still talk about, that people still rave about, that I definitely did purchase. I was bored at my grandparents' house a few years ago, definitely before I started my YouTube channel. There was a sale on the Balms website and I was like, you know what? We're gonna buy it. People keep talking about it. It is the Balms Mary Luminizer. This is a beautiful highlight. This is a highlight again, even though this highlight came out before highlighters really like took the market by storm. And it's still a really beautiful highlighter, you guys. It's not as intense as highlighters now. Highlighters now I feel like tend to be a little bit more blinding and tend to just really almost make your face look wet. Mary Luminizer doesn't do that. It's just a really good highlighter. Like I'm looking at it right now and I'm like, man, why haven't I used this? It's intense, but in like the best possible way. It doesn't really emphasize your texture, pores, or anything like that. It will give you a nice high shine, but it won't be as blinding as say what's on my cheekbones right now, which on the day-to-day, that definitely is good. People still use it every single day, and I think it's because it's one of those products that are just genuinely good. What I'm wearing on my lips right now, and this is still one of my favorite lip colors. It's still one of my most worn, my most used. And in my earlier videos, you would definitely see this all the time. What I'm talking about is Kat Von D's Lolita. Oh my gosh. The first person I remember talking about this was Amanda NSYNC, and she was somebody that I found a little bit later on. I don't really watch her so much anymore, but I used to watch her a ton a few years back, and she talked Kat Von D Lolita to death. And then of course there was the Lolita scandal where when they started restocking it, it wasn't the original Lolita, and then there came out a third Lolita. And I think that just kind of intrigued people a lot more with this product. It is a beautiful lip color. It is one of my favorite lip colors to wear in the fall. Kat Von D is also one of my favorite formulations of liquid lipstick, not too drying. It's not uncomfortable on the lips. It doesn't crack too much. And I like it. It took forever for me to get my hands on this because once it gained steam, it like did not slow down for a solid year. Like this was on everybody's radar for the longest time. I want to say it probably took me 4 months to get my hands on it once it really blew up and beauty influencers really started talking about this, but I still love it to this day. The NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. Now, the only concealer that I ever wore prior to this were concealers from MAC, of course, and then I started hearing everybody talk about this concealer. And this, with the exception of my matte concealer, is my most purchased. Well, probably now the Urban Decay Naked Skin is probably my most purchased. But before YouTube began, this was my most purchased concealer. I loved this stuff. I think it is still one of my favorites. It's probably definitely in the top, we'll say top 10 of my favorite concealers of all time. It is super full coverage. It can sometimes be a little bit drying underneath the eyes. It is not as intense as, say, the Tarte Shape Tape, but it doesn't apply the same amount of coverage either. So I feel like it's somewhere in between like the Tarte Shape Tape and the Urban Decay Naked Skin as far as coverage, as far as blendability, as far as like ease of use. This is a good concealer. It's a lot of people's holy grails, but at the same time, a lot of people hate it. A lot of people think it's too drying. Now, I do have drier under eyes, and I don't notice it drying out my skin. Now, typically, a lot of times when I put on this concealer, I don't set it with powder. If I do set it with powder, it can get a little dry underneath there. I'll admit that. But it's still a good one, and it's still one that I'd like to keep on rotation. I like to purchase every once in a while. Now, this is too light for me. This is light 1 Chantilly. This is when I was into doing the really like stark under eye highlights, which I've kind of phased out of. I like my under eyes to kind of match my actual skin tone now. I very rarely do the under eye brightening with my concealer. I'll go in with like a lighter powder. This is another one of those products that I feel like has stood the test of time. People still talk about it. People still rave about it. But about, I'd say 2 to 3 years ago, everybody was talking about this, and I just had to get my hands on it. It is still a staple product to me. And then the last product that YouTube made me purchase, and I figured I'd end here because I feel like it's still one of those products that everybody talks about, everybody raves about, and it's still a really good powder. I think better powders have come out, like the Cover FX Perfect Setting Powder I think is better than the Laura Mercier Setting Powder, especially if you have more dry skin. If you have more normal to oily, you might still prefer the Laura Mercier Setting Powder. But whenever I started, again, doing the whole contouring thing and people started talking about baking and, you know, highlighting and contouring and, you know, cutting your cheekbones and all that stuff, everybody was using this powder. So again, I felt like I had to have it. I probably repurchased that powder about 3 or 4 times over the course of the last 2.5 to 3 years. And it's a good powder, and it's a powder that I would definitely repurchase again. I've definitely, along the way, have found ones I like better. But it's definitely still a staple product. It's definitely a product that I would still recommend and 100% stand by. We're gonna go ahead and stop it there. I had a few more products, but if I do a part 2 of this, I'll include those products in that portion because this video has already gotten a little bit longer than I expected it to be. It's kind of interesting to me to have done this video because when I purchased a lot of these products, it was when I was first really getting into like learning how to do eyeshadow, learning how to do makeup, and I just really fell in love with the entire process of YouTube beauty community and just, you know, creating something beautiful on your face, you know, expressing yourself through makeup and just making yourself feel genuinely good. I think it's really fun to kind of do videos like this because you can kind of see the evolution of, you know, your makeup collection, products that you used to swear by but now would probably never use, or products that still have held the test of time that now that I'm the one sitting in front of the camera that I would still recommend to you guys. It's super awesome. It's super cool. I really enjoyed doing this video. Hopefully you did enjoy it. If you did, let me know down below because I would definitely like to film this again. I could probably do like 10 of these because some of my favorite influencers that I've trusted, you know, for years have definitely recommended me some really good products over the years that I totally still use and think are really great. So let me know down below if you like this. Thank you so much for watching today. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below, and I will see you in tomorrow's video. Bye guys!